Hey folks, with us today, Alexandre Abu-Jamra from Klooks. Alex, super happy to have you.
Hello, Nicholas. Thank you for the space and talking to our audience. I think it's a great opportunity for both of us.
Awesome. Let's dive right in. What problem does Klook solve for its customers?
Well, we are specialized on organizing information in PDFs and images. Basically, that our bots, they read financial PDFs, balance sheets, income statements, financial documents, and then we organize the data so banks and investors, they can use that data to take decisions. It's basically a mix between OCR, text interpretation, and linguistics.
God, and that's quite a unique thing. So, what's like a typical use case for that?
The typical use case, the most common, is on banks. When a company wants to borrow some money from the bank usually asks them their financial statements, so they can analyze if the company will be able to pay back the borrowed money. And well, companies usually they send those files in PDF because of a number of reasons, because that's not easy to change, because there is some signature from the accountant, there's a signature from the CEO, and well, for some reasons. And so the banks receive those PDFs, and they usually have like an army of people trying to take the data out of the PDFs and to make that turn those PDFs and images into data. And that's quite a big problem, because it's very easy to make mistakes when you're doing that manually. And you need a lot of automatic testing to make sure that everything you extracted is correct, because like a wrong zero, it might be like a $1 million mistake in credit rating. So we take that into account and have a very very efficient process of extracting data, and we have like a layer of human quality assurance. So we make sure that data is 100% correct.
Interesting. So how did you stumble into that problem?
Oh, it's a great question. Well, it started a bit differently, but the problem we targeted in the start was to, well, I worked with M&A, and in my practice we had some employees trying to find financial data of companies in the web. That like 10, 12 years ago, and they used to do that manually. So when I quit the M&A firm, I had this problem on my mind. Well, I need to fix that and to put a bot to get that data in the web and to structure that and blah, blah. So, well, I've joined with some partners to solve that problem. And we were quite happy in doing that. In the first 3 years, we built the bots that would go into the web in Brazil specifically and would get the financial statements from companies that were like lost in the web, and would structure that into a single database. And we started selling that to international intelligence platforms like Capital IQ, Orbis from Moody's Analytics, Bureau van Dijk, Bloomberg. So we kind of turned ourselves into a financial data hub of private Brazilian companies that would send that data abroad. But well, doing that, we got in contact with this big problem, which was to turn the PDFs into structured data. And then we started selling that as a service to banks and insurance companies, and that worked pretty well. And well, right now we are internationalizing, because the solution is works anywhere with any language. It's just a little setup we need to do it any other language. And well, in Brazil, it's like very popular right now, and a lot of really big banks are using your solution to help in credit analysis.
Interesting. So did you basically switch completely what you're doing, or do you still have the old basically like arm of the company doing the data as a service, and then a new part of the company doing the SaaS? Or how did you make the transition operationally, basically?
Perfect. we have both right now. We have the data as a service working, and our bots are still getting data in the web and structuring those financial data into the financial PDFs into data and selling that to international intelligence platforms. But it was not like a pivoting. It was sort of a natural evolution. We started getting balance sheets and income statements, and we understood how to work with that. Oh, let's sell it as a service. There is demand for that. So it's like a natural evolution on our offer, and not like powering like, oh, let's change everything and change product, change the channel. Just a natural.
And did you to double click on that, because I think it's super interesting to have this switch from like some business model data as a service services into SaaS. So was it more that you needed a tool internally to make the data as a service better, and you basically scratch your own itch, or did you see demand from the market and saw, just like by being in the industry, saw the opportunity to build that tool?
We had the data as a service, and then we were knocking on banks' doors. Hey, we got Brazilian data here, the financial data from Brazilian companies, private Brazilian companies. Does that fit your needs? Would you like that at all? And then some of them started talking to me. Well, yes, it's cool, but the real problem I have is not on finding the data that is in the web. It's to structure the data that I receive from my clients. And then, well, that clicked, and we started thinking about like, well, let's try to solve that. And then we tried the first MVPs with an insurance company, and that was very it was very successful. They loved the service, and then we started offering to some other insurance companies, and then we started offering to banks. And well, right now we have like 15 banks more or less using this service, including some international banks, some Citibank or an international insurance company, Tokyo Marine. Well, there's some interesting clients in our portfolio.
If you need to hire the right developers and ship fast, then React Squad is for you. A boutique agency that specializes in React and only works with fast growth startups. Get a 14-day risk-free trial and a transparent price of $95 per hour. Visit reactsquad.io to learn more.
And then how I mean, the company overall started 12 years ago, so 2011. When did you start the SaaS part?
Oh, that's also a good question. We have actually 3 products, right? We talked about 2 products, which is the data as a service and the financial spreading service. But we also have a SaaS that you can log in and find data from Brazilian companies. And actually, we started that from the start, the SaaS, but it never scaled. The Brazilian market is not that big for the demand for private Brazilian financial data as in a SaaS model. We weren't able to scale that yet. We are still progressing on technology and features development, but well, we need to focus somewhere, and we've been focusing on getting more data and processing more data to the banks.
Got it. But I mean, the OCR tool that reads the PDF is like, don't you sell that in like a software as a service manner? Meaning, do they pay annually for that, or do you sell that additionally with consulting hours, or like how do the clients actually buy this service?
Oh, great! Now I understood the question.
Yeah.
Well, to be able to spread the data in a PDF in the quality that the credit area needs in the bank, our understanding is that OCR and fully automatic solutions do not work. They will make mistakes. They will miss lines. They will put the data in the wrong line and attribute some data to the wrong class. So our understanding is that you need to have a human quality assurance structured and a pre-structured process to make sure that everything is correct, that total assets are the same value as total liabilities, and the sum of accounts in current assets is equal to the total current assets. So there is the need of a human in the middle of the process, because with current technology, for the quality the banks need, we understand that 100% automatic doesn't work. So we sell that as a service, and they send that us their PDFs, and we send it back to them already spread it in their standards with their classification rules, everything reviewed. So it's not a service that is like automatic. We have a 3-hour SLA, so it's not like you send it and you receive it at the same time. Like automatically, there is an SLA for us to be able to reach the needed quality.
Understood. And then I would imagine that working with banks is very like enterprise sales driven. So getting a client, I would guess takes like 6 to however many months. Like how do you actually sell into a bank? Because for me, like I don't come from this industry. I wouldn't even know where to start to sell something to a bank. Like how does the sales process work?
Yeah, that's usually a big pain in credit areas, corporate credit areas. So all the banks, they have people scratching data and trying to make data make sense. And we try to get to the managers of those areas. So because that guy has the pain, that guy he really has pressure on him to be faster on their credit analysis. And to have
the person, so it would be so for a dummy, so it would be like the person who's responsible for approving a loan to a business, basically, or the person managing the people who have to approve it.
That's it. Perfect. That's right. That's our persona inside banks. If we get to the credit manager, he knows what we are talking about. He has the pain. He understands the value that can add to his process. For to have an idea, on Tokyo Marine, this international insurance company I've mentioned, they had their process of credit analysis was like 6 or 7 days total. When we got in, it reduced to like 2 days. So they missed 5 days on interpreting data. So they could earn a lot of more clients getting quicker responses to their commercial side.
Okay, and then do you have a sales team doing that, or like do you do like founder-led sales in a way?
Yeah, we do have a sales team, a sales army of 3 people, me and other 2 people. So when you're a startup, you gotta have your costs on your hands, right? So yeah, we are 3 people on sales, and basically that we do a lot of prospecting automatically. So I think our process is pretty efficient. Sales side.
Yeah. Would you be open to share a bit about that efficiency? I mean, you don't need to go into detail if there's like any secret sauce, but just for the people who are currently out there and trying to like the founder themselves and trying to hire like the first 1 or 2 salespeople. How can they also have like an efficient prospecting process in a way?
Perfect. Well, I can share the process we use. That's definitely not a problem. I'm not sure if the process we use will be of use for everyone, but well, I hope that someone can take something out of it. Well, we don't have SDRs. We don't have people like calling and getting in contact on LinkedIn. We use a software to do that automatically. So you make like a text template, and then the software get in contact with the person. And well, hey, we are from Klooks. We do this, and that. Let's talk about that. Here are some suggestions of dates to talk. And then, well, if the person doesn't answer, then 1 week later, the software sends another email. Hey, this is Alex from Klooks. I think you haven't seen my email. Blah, blah. So what do you think of talking? And then if the person doesn't answer again, then 1 week later, the software sends another automatic mail. Hey, I don't want to be insistent. And so that's the last email I'm sending. If you'd like to talk, here I am. If you don't, well, if you could just say who is the right person in your company to talk about that, that would be great for us. And well, those prospecting softwares, they have nice integrations with LinkedIn. So they do this. You might have heard of Hunter.io and all this prospecting apps. Basically, they get the name of the person and they have the company, and by the company, they know the domain. So they just guess the email of the person out of it. and they send automatic emails on that. So that's basically what we do.
And then do you only contact them via email, or do you do also like email one, adding via LinkedIn, email two, adding like DMing on Twitter, like going multi-channel on people?
We do only emails and LinkedIn, and the LinkedIn is not automatically. We tried to do automatic prospection in LinkedIn, but didn't work very well. So the main channel is email. 4 years ago, when I started doing that, it was only me in the commercial side, the sales team. It was one person sales team. That worked very well, but I think that a lot of people had the same idea, and right now is not as efficient as it used to be, but it is still a good channel. So that our outbound goes that way, but we have a lot of inbound as well. So the inbound is just newsletter to a very targeted audience, and every time we send a newsletter, there are some interesting leads coming in. So that's more or less it. And obviously we don't send emails automatically spamming as a machine gun. We go very targeted in the personas that we understand that have the pain. So we don't want to be a pain for that.
Makes sense. And then I love that you started talking about the inbound part and the email list. How did you build that email list? Did you do SEO and capture emails, or how do you drive the inbound marketing part of your sales machine, basically?
Guys, it was pretty much SEO and was there's an interesting part of the outbound sales, finding the people, confirming the pains, and then putting those emails into our mailing list. So when you do that like years in a row, you start to get quite relevant. List of people.
So example would be you email like Peter from Acme Bank. Peter says, yes, I have the pain, but I either don't have budget or my manager doesn't allow me to buy a new tool. But then you know that Peter has the pain. You put Peter on the email list, and maybe 3 years later, he's the manager and he can buy your tool because he read your newsletter for 3 years. Roughly like that? Or how did you mean going from the code outbound to having people on the email list?
That's it. That's perfect. That's exactly it. We were a little bit worried in the start, like, well, is it right to put his email on our mail list? But there's an unsubscribe big button there if he wants to unsubscribe, and our unsubscribing rates are really low. So we understood that we are not being a pain, and that's the opposite. We were helping those people to get more content on the pain they have.
That's super interesting. I never heard that way of building an email list, to be honest. I usually hear like you write SEO articles, you have like your white paper to download, but then you need to enter the email. So that's super interesting. I would love to switch gears a bit because, I mean, you're 12 years in, so everything's going fine. But can you tell us a war story, like just a time where everything looked like it's not going to work, or it was like a bad 6 months, just like a war story of somewhere in the last 12 years of building that business as a founder?
Yeah, sure. We didn't start like the correct way, in my opinion. We had the idea, and then we built the idea without much validation. So that obviously went wrong. We started 12 years ago, but I started full-time in the business. That was 2017. So let's say it started 6 years ago. Before that, everyone was part-time. There was 3 partners and everyone was part-time in the business. I was like working as a CFO and also dealing with Klooks on my free time, and the same with the other partners. So I went full-time in 2017. But we started 2012 and our vision was, let's build the bots and get all these balance sheets and income statements and extract the data from the PDFs and make it beautiful as we see in Capital IQ. And at that time, Capital IQ didn't have Brazilian data of private companies. We built the bots and we started gathering the data, but we thought that we could do everything automatically, and we couldn't. And nowadays we we still think we can't, and that's why we put humans in the middle of the process. So we spent like 2 or 3 years trying to automatize all the routines and trying to make that big database, and to find out that making it fully automatically was not efficient, and we just lost time and money trying to develop some technology that would be extremely hard even nowadays to do. And well, we found ourselves with a bunch of PDFs and without any data, because we couldn't extract the data out of the PDF. So we were trying to do it automatically, and it didn't. So what we had was like a bunch of PDFs specified by company. Well, this PDF is the financial statement of Nicolas Limited, and that's all we had indexed. And then we put that in a SaaS, like login and password on the web, so that private equities and M&A firms could access that, but without having the data extracted. That wasn't very helpful. They didn't like that, and they were all used to Bloomberg and to Capital IQ. So it was like, wow, that doesn't help me, and those features are very primitive. So we sold like 2 or 3 or 4 licenses, but well, nothing that would make the business work. And then, well, that was a pivoting moment. That was a true pivoting. It was not like a product pivoting, but it was a channel pivoting. We just gave up on selling licenses to M&As and started knocking on intelligence platforms to sell like the database. And the first one was Capital IQ. And that's quite an interesting story, because, you know, like, we were a small tech company with 3 partners. And the other side was Capital IQ. So how can I reach Capital IQ? My God, how can I get to the right people? So I called them. Their São Paulo office, and I was like, well, can I talk to your director in São Paulo? I've seen that Pedro is the director of LinkedIn. So can I talk to Pedro, the director? Blah blah. And well, they transferred the phone to Pedro. So I was like, oh, I got Pedro, great. And then I was like, hey, Pedro, this is Alex. I'm from Klooks, and we are doing something that we've seen you are not doing, and maybe we have some synergies, because well, we have nowadays a lot of financial statements of private Brazilian companies, and Capital IQ doesn't. What do you think? That's something you could take advantage? And well, Pedro is a outstanding person. I love him. When we still talk nowadays. And then he said, well, Alex, that's true. That's really cool. I would love to get that. That's a pain I have as a Brazilian manager, as a Brazilian director, because we don't have the data, and everyone asks me for that. But right now, Capital IQ is focusing on Asia, and I can't just call the guys up in US and say, hey, let's prioritize Brazil. They won't do that. So what I can do is, well, I can ask you to trust me and just wait a little bit, that when I have the right momentum to sell that internally, I will do that. And then I was like, all right, I lost it. He's never going to call me again. And then 6 months later, Pedro calls me on my mobile. Hey, Alex, remember me? I'm Pedro from Capital IQ. Remember I told you that that we could find a way to put your data in Capital IQ. Well, now we are in a Latin American cycle, and I think it's a good moment to sell that internally. And well, at that time, I was like, well, great, awesome. And I just realized it was important when they called me for a meeting in São Paulo. And well, there were some people from the US coming on, and I realized that the guy that was coming to São Paulo was Will McGraw. He was the heir of McGraw-Hill, which owned Capital IQ and Standard & Poor's. So I was like, wow, all right, that's big, that's important. So that's the story. We went to São Paulo, and we met with the heirs of the company, and well, still nowadays our data is Capital IQ, and they are one of our main clients. And that's what really made the business. That's what gave us the structure to start building on it, and putting more services on.
I think that's an amazing story. And then we have to send flowers to Pedro.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we every time we have the opportunity, we send some gift to him.
It makes sense. Just before we wrap up, because like we're running out of time, what's the big vision for Klooks? Like, where do you see the company in 10 years?
Oh, great question. Well, there are a few visions for that, and the one we are betting more is on getting more data from Brazilian companies and building a really big financial database. That's our main vision, because we see that there's a lot of financial data of companies that is public in the web and we are not getting, and there is a lot of data from Brazilian companies that is not public, but we could get if we get to the companies and just ask. So I see we're doing a lot of this work, and also I see us internationalizing this financial spreading service because it's ready. I just need to press play here to start spreading data in other languages for other banks. And we are already doing that for City Group and for Tokyo. So it's been pretty good experience.
Got it. Alex, thanks a ton for coming on. That was a super fun chat.
Great, Nicholas. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
If you like this episode, then you'll love the SaaS Operator, a weekly newsletter brought to you by EarlyNode, with actionable insights from SaaS experts in the industry delivered right to your inbox every Tuesday for free. Visit earlynode.com to subscribe.